In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to create forms and how you can go about creating new designs with forms and adding new fields. Pulsator is a bit different in how it creates forms. Basically, it gives you complete control of where you want those form fields to be shown and where the button is. So if you click on a template, the form fields will already be there for you. We have a button and then the two form fields. How this works is basically we have the two form fields and then this button. And this button can do many things. It can go to a URL, it can open up a pop-up, it can go to a slide to a section, it can do a bunch of things. But the one thing we wanted to do is submit the form. So when you first create a button, you're going to have this URL /action. So this is basically what you want this button to do. When you click on it, you're going to see a few options. So we can make this button open up a pop-up, we can make it submit a form, we can make it scroll to different sections we have here. What we wanted to do is click on submit form. So anytime this button is clicked, all these form fields are going to be submitted to the server and saved and then redirected to wherever you want it to go. Where you want it to go, the redirection, you go to your settings, there's a thing called form options. If you go to redirect to a URL, you can just put in a URL here, and then it will redirect you once the person opts in, saves their information, redirects to a URL. If you're using an integration like Aweber, you would just go to your Aweber integrations after you've integrated it, choose a list, and then put in the URL that you want it to go to. So let's say we want to add a new input field. So let's click on this. As you roll over things, you can add new elements. So let's add a new input field here. Now we have all our elements that we can add. Let's find input field. If you cannot find what you're looking here, you can just go up to the top here and just start writing input. So we have input field. Let's double click on this. So now we have this new input field here. I'm going to hit the settings here. I'm just going to give it a padding of 20 just to make it fit here. Alright, so the main thing about input fields besides the styling is this input name. This input name is very important. It's going to be what is stored for this value. So we have this input field at the top here is called name. This one's called email. So we have some standard naming stuff. So for example, if I start writing name, you can see that we can have a name, first name, last name. Those are good standards. We can write email. This is how the system's going to know that this is an email input. So for example, it's going to start doing the verifications if this actually is a real email address. This is what's going to be submitted to the Aweber and all that kind of stuff. Since this is a custom one, we would want something. Let's say we'll give it a phone. As you can see, as I'm writing, it'll say phone, and I'm going to write the placeholder text is enter your phone number here, and then we're going to. We have a few options here. You can make this field required. We're going to make it not required. If you make it required, they won't be able to submit the form without actually submitting this first. I'm going to give this a styling professional just to make it match everything else. I think it's a large. And then I'm going to make the text center, add an icon, a phone icon, and there we go. So now we have a new field form of phone. So now when I hit save, go back to my page here and just reload. So now we have a new form field of phone. So now once they add their phone number here, once they hit save and once they opt in, you now have that information, which is great. So you can see how easy it is to start adding form fields. The cool thing about this, for example, we're not constrained on where these form fields should live. So I'm just going to give you kind of just a quick example here. So let's make a new row. And we're going to make this a 3-column row. So we have 3 columns here. I'm just going to give this a padding at the top here just for some style. Alright, so now we want to have these input fields in this area. I'm going to delete the phone number field for now. I'm just going to drag this form field into this row. I'm going to do the same thing for this email address. And then we drag the button here like that. I'm just going to delete this section here since we do not need it anymore. Alright, so now things are a bit funky because of the styling, so let's get rid of the margin. Let's make this a medium. Let's make this left. Let's do the same thing here. Medium. left, and no padding. And the same thing here for the button here. So let's make this small, and everything looks good for that. Remember, we have this URL /action is called submit form. You have to make sure you have that. If you don't have that, you might see a notice here in the bottom. And if you click on that, you see your notices. It will give you a notice saying that you have input fields, but you don't have a way to submit that field. So I'm just going to change these to your full name just to make it a little bit nicer. So if it's saved now, if I go to my page here, right? So we have the form fields in a completely different arrangement. So we have them all horizontally. It works the exact same way. We could even have this button, if you wanted to, up here. So now this button will always submit this form. So you have kind of complete control of how many form fields you want, and where you want them to be designed and how you want them to be placed on the page, which is really, really great. Gives you a lot of freedom to make the pages you want, to make the tweaks you want.